Welcome our fans out there in TV land. Welcome to another SCORE Business Showcase. Again today we have another fantastic business person with us, Joshua Grant, and he's going to be talking about his chamber. And why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Joshua?
Well, thank you for having me, Stephen. The Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce actually, I'm excited to announce, is actually celebrating its 10th year in existence. It was back in 2007 where we got a room full of business professionals and entrepreneurs, and we had a small meeting about what we thought we needed to do in the city for businesses. And since then, it's been a wild ride, but a good one, very successful. We've seen a lot of growth. The chamber right now boasts about 75 members. It kind of fluctuates from year to year. We're still active. We're still working hard in the community, reaching out, doing the trading side, but also the connecting people with other opportunities.
Oh, fantastic. Now, why is there a need for a black or minority chamber of commerce?
So when we founded the chamber, we had a lot of people ask that. In fact, I had a couple people say, why does it have to say black? And I had someone actually comment to me and says, well, you know, other chambers don't say white. I mean, it was the intention of having a black chamber was really not to speak to the mainstream. The purpose of the black chamber was to speak to minority businesses.
Okay.
And so why? Because, you know, I think some business chambers, the business pool is so vast. When you have a city like Bridgeport, where you have businesses like People's Bank and the gas company and the hospitals, and then you have the guy on the corner who's running a hot dog stand, that's a huge disparity between the type of business that People's Bank is and the guy that runs the food cart.
Correct.
And then when you think about the mom and pop businesses, the people who make things out of their home, the little micro businesses that you don't see in the community, where there's gifted and talented people providing valuable services, they tend to be mixed. And we thought that a chamber that spoke to that community would be able to deal directly with them, that specialize in the issues that those businesses were confronted with. And that's why we thought there was a need for a black chamber.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah. Now, what is the mission of this chamber?
Our tag is Bridging the Gap. So back to my first reference, how do we connect the guy with the street food cart with People's Bank?
Okay.
Because he could be selling hot dogs under the shadow of People's Bank and not have a checking account or a loan to build his business. And so what we were doing is kind of bringing to attention the needs of the community, but also saying to the community, if you want mainstream success, you have to learn how the main street operates and what's required to tap into those resources. And so that's where we see ourselves as kind of standing between those two entities and creating a pathway for them to cross.
So that makes me think about, is there a synergy between the Chamber of Commerces that we have in this area with your chamber?
We have done a lot of work with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We have done some joint events with, the name slips my mind, with, excuse me, we have done work with other small and minority business organizations that also specialize in specific things, whether it be a specific group of people or population or specific trades that they focus in. So we have had some success with that, yes.
Okay, very good. Now, what are some of the challenges that that face the minority businesses in today's climate?
Well, you know, I think one of the first things is lethargy. There's a tendency for business people in the community to think that we've made a little success and then to stop pushing, to stop fighting, right? So I think one of the challenges that faces small businesses and small business chambers is continuing to pound the drum for equality and equal opportunity, and also to continue to pound the drum of improvement and more access. We tend to think that we've arrived and we've made it. So I would start with lethargy. And then I would say there's still a relative amount of ignorance that exists. And I would say that exists between the mainstream and the small business, the small minority business, is that the smaller minority business owner may not know still, even with all the technology and all the social media and all these things out there, that there are resources to help them develop their businesses. And then on the larger business side, I think that sometimes they don't know, and I've sat in a room with people, large construction firms who said, we can't find any minority electricians. There are none. And we'd say, we got a whole room full of them. But what we found out was that the large contracting firms were looking in one place, and the minority contracting firms were looking in another place. They couldn't hook up. And so getting people to know where to look and what to look for is the next one. And I think the uncertainty of the economy. I think that, people are concerned that money's not coming down to the street. I think what you're seeing now as the economy changes is that in the minority community, people have always started businesses for two reasons: passion, and the second reason was out of necessity. I think as the economy does not trickle down,
yes,
you're going to start seeing more people start business out of necessity. And that's a great thing. The problem is when you start a business out of necessity, you tend to only think about the next meal instead of growing a business. So what we're facing is going to have an economy with all these businesses, with a lot of people who are doing in business for the right reason, but may not have all the right tools. So I think those are the three major challenges that we're going to have going forward.
Yes, indeed. Now, can you explain the impact that the SCBCC certification program?
So we went to, again, in 2007, Bill Finch had started the Small and Minority Business Resource Center, and he appointed Deborah Cavanis to run that office. And that was supposed to provide opportunity, education, and resources for contractors to come in. As we began to meet with minority contractors, we realized that if you wanted to do business with the city of Bridgeport, you had to be certified. We began looking at certification programs, and the best way I can put it was, as a minority business owner, I said to somebody at the state, I said, it amazes me that I have to fill out more paperwork to prove that I'm black than I did to buy a house. The process was so difficult. The process was so time-consuming, and the information, again, wasn't making it from the top to the people who needed to hear it. So we looked at our certification program and says, how can we develop a certification program where we prove that this person is in business, that they are who they say that they are, and take away all the barriers that become a part of the process, and then create a database that we can say to large businesses and to municipal contracts, these are the people we have available. The first person we took this idea to was Bill Finch. Bill Finch loved it. He signed on with it. We sat down with the city attorneys. We compared it to other organizations' application process. We put it together. And even though we knew it was a solution to a problem, we couldn't have imagined that over the last 10 years, we have certified over 200 businesses that would go on to do millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars of business with not just the city of Bridgeport, with New Haven, with with Hartford, with Stanford, that even other municipalities would accept our certification. It's just mind-blowing to me.
That's fantastic.
So that's the thing we're most proud of. We're proud of the fact that in 2007, no major school construction project had ever been built or been under project management of a black construction company. And since then, we've had 3 come in that we have Robert McLeod, Cheryl McKissick, Marshawn Coleman. Marshawn Coleman was from Bridgeport, who built his business, got certified with us. To see them grow to where they're trying to work on rehabbing houses in 2008, to build entire schools in 2010 and 2011 is just a really incredible accomplishment. We're proud of that. But we're also proud about all the electricians and the plumbers who came up, got certified, did business with the city, and moved on. Because our certification ultimately is something that we want our members to outgrow to move on to bigger things at state and national level.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Yeah,
on
thank
that. Now, how long has the chamber been in operation?
This is year 10. This is year 10. That means we've survived 2 administrations, 2 presidents, and we will survive this president. And we've survived a couple of revitalization efforts, and we've survived 2 governors. So we're proud of that, and we plan on being here another 10 years.
Now, what would you consider to be the most significant accomplishment of the SCBCC?
I think what we didn't want to be partisan. We didn't want to become a part of the noise. We wanted to be open and transparent. We wanted people to look at us as an honest business broker in the city of Bridgeport. And that's the thing I'm most proud of, is I think ultimately people look at us as an organization that's doing its best for the community. The entire board does not get paid. I don't get paid. We volunteer our time, we volunteer our resources and our energy, our intellectual capital is all volunteer. So the chamber hasn't benefited itself, but the people who've come into contact in some way or another have. And I think that's the greatest achievement that we've had to date.
That's fantastic. Now, let's transition and talk about, because you were in business for yourself. You have
Yes,
several businesses.
yes, 3. I came here in '98. I married a girl from Bridgeport, and we moved to Bridgeport. I started a business, walked into Bridgeport Bluefish, and told them that I wanted to do concessions for them. At the time, I was running concessions and novelty foods at Yankee Stadium and Shea Stadium in New York City. Long story short, they gave me a shot. The next year, the AGM that was there got promoted to GM. He took me with him down to Camden, New Jersey. People up in Norwich got wind of what I was doing, and New Britain got wind of what I was doing, and then they took me there, and they took me there, and then we built the arena here.
Yes.
And in that time, Ken Paul, one of my great business mentors, Tony Scott, Mickey Herbert, Charlie Dowd, the management and ownership team over at the Bluefish, they took me down to People's Bank and got me a checking account. They helped me find a lawyer. They introduced me to micro MCBs, micro capital business, and they were giving micro loans to small and minority businesses, and they gave me seed money to continue to expand my business. And so as I borrowed that money, they came back, and then I got another loan from People's Bank, and they helped me build the business. And it just, I think back now, I was young, I didn't appreciate all the help that I got. But it grew from over 15 locations in 6 states. We had 110 employees. Fantastic business. In the middle of that, I opened a cleaning company that specialized in cleaning after construction cleaning and in sports and entertainment venues. That company also did well. I owned a restaurant that didn't do as well, but I did better as a person because I learned a lot from that experience as a businessman. I think that was the first time that I learned that I didn't have all the requisite skills to be successful at multiple businesses. But all of those things I met and learned so many things. I got to meet the president. I got to meet the governor. I got to meet my congressman and my senator and all those great things that happen when you're successful in business. Yes. And very, very proud of it. But, after the financial crisis, 2007, 2008, it became increasingly different to get credit. It became increasingly difficult to.
It's a different world.
It just overnight it changed, and the businesses started to change. It started to shrink, and I held on. Did a good job managing the business. Had to allow some people to move on and not hire people to help. Had to take some cuts, and then finally decided that it was a good idea to sell and find business in an industry where I can go work and kind of polish some of the rough edges that I didn't have as an entrepreneur, that I had as an entrepreneur. Now in the business world, begin to polish and smooth those rough edges over and maybe get back into it in the future.
All right, good.
So
now, since we have business, a business audience out there, what has been some of one of your challenges that can help people to miss out on that you didn't see back then, but you can appreciate now?
You know, I'll go back to the necessity versus passion. Most entrepreneurs are extremely passionate people. And I love that. But that's why I love being around entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs believe they can do anything. And that is the lifeblood of what American capitalism is. And it doesn't discriminate.
Right.
And you could find somebody selling a pet rock. If they believe in that rock, man, you can't tell them there's nothing better than that rock. And that's great for entrepreneurs. But sometimes our passion, as in my case, blinds us from reality. Being an entrepreneur and being in business sometimes scratches that itch for your passion, but then you can miss simple things like financial statements and you know, whether you're over leveraged on your loans and how much interest are you paying and what are your bank fees and your payroll taxes, federal, state, local, all the licenses and fees that the rest of the world says to the passion people, okay, you can play, but then you got to pay. And we get so wrapped up in our passion sometimes that we forget that we have to take our passion and put it in the age-old accounting system, right?
Yes.
Credits and debits, right? Profits and loss. When it's all said and done, you take an artist who paints and puts it on the wall and sells it in the studio, and you take an investment broker on Wall Street. When it's all said and done, their money's got to go through the same system.
Absolutely.
And it took me until, and a lot of times with people, entrepreneurs, is we don't find out that we're wrong until we're out of money. So most of the time we learn, I had a friend, a mentor, who went to an Ivy League school, and he said, Josh, he says, what you've been through the last 4 or 5 years is what I went to school to prevent.
Yes.
And it just blew my mind when he said it. He says, I went to an Ivy League school to learn how not to ruin a business. You went to a school of life to learn how to start a business. And so what groups like SCORE, with retired professionals that can come in and say, hey, where's your balance sheet? You know, are you tracking your costs? What are your expenses? Are they out of control? That can help you form a business plan and not just write one so you can present it, but actually follow it.
Absolutely. Yes.
Use it as a roadmap going forward. When you're running on passion, my business plan was, when I got up in the morning, do I have enough money to open? How much money am I going to make? And how much money am I going to take home?
Yes.
So I would think that would be the number one challenge, is at some point, no matter how passionate you are about your business, it's got to get weighted in mainstream accounting and administrative things, because the world is always changing. And then the second challenge is, I'm going to go back to passion, is, you know, I had a restaurant that I should have closed 6 months earlier, but I believed that I can make it work.
Yes.
And that's that indomitable spirit of the entrepreneur. We will believe until we can't walk anymore.
Exactly.
And sometimes entrepreneurs struggle with knowing when to fold and knowing when to quit when they're ahead. And again, sound business advice and analysis helps, but where I think I could have used help and where I see a lot of business owners help is they need a partner that can tell them the truth. They need not a family member or an employee, someone who has a vested interest in that person instead of their business, to tell them, you're making a mistake. So when I closed my business, the restaurant, I called my banker and he said to me, I said, how are we going to pay these loans off? I said, I don't know. And he said, you know, Josh, I really was worried that you were taking on too much when you started this third venture, but I didn't say anything to you. And I said to him, don't worry about it, because I probably wouldn't have listened.
Exactly.
Don't feel bad. But that voice of, hey, double check this. You need this as an entrepreneur. You need to find other entrepreneurs or people who've done what you've done that can tell you when you're wrong.
Exactly. A mentor.
A mentor. Because when you're in business and you're doing well, people will cheer you. They will clap and they will wave, and they'll introduce you to the governor, and they will cheer you, and you're on that parade, and that parade will go right off a cliff if you don't have someone to tell you that it's not always glitz and glamour and that you're in trouble.
Very good.
Two major things, two passions, and I think those are the major issues that face.
Now, those are some of the challenges. What about share with us your successes that you found in business?
Oh, I think the people, you know, to be able to have people who came to work for me in high school and college, you know, who are in their 30s now and who are successful professionals, telling me that the things that they learned when they worked for me. I always loved the idea of a parent, especially when a black woman would bring her child to me and say, I want you to teach my son how to be a man. That extremely valuable.
Yes.
Because now you realize you're making an effect on the community. The people who you were able to help. The thing I remember most about my business is really the people and the lives that I was able to touch and the people who touched me. You know, I got to see a lot of cool things. I got to travel and do a lot of different places, and I got to make a lot of money. I got to buy a house. I got to do some things that you want to do.
Yes.
But, you know, and then the networks that you forge. I mean, I've known you for almost 10, 12 years, right?
Maybe a little longer.
Maybe a little longer, right? And so you hear people and you go, wow, I remember that. I remember that. And I was actually speaking at an event the other day, and I saw someone on the list. I remember when we first started our businesses together, we were like 24. We were pups. And here she is giving a speech, and I said, "Well, look at how this time has aged us into now. We're helping the next group." That I'll never forget. Most enjoyable part.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Now, how about you know, we talked about a little bit about SCORE. How does SCORE help you?
SCORE helped me with the foundation of the business plan. You know, it was funny when you see now. Back in the day in Bridgeport, way back in the 90s, they had Burke. So if you went to, there's a Bridgeport Economic Resource Center. I said I wanted to start a business. They said, go to Burke. So I went to Burke, and they gave me an SBA pamphlet, and they gave me a SCORE pamphlet. They had a whole bunch of pamphlets, and I actually sat down with, now I'm not sure if Juan was in that office, but at the time Juan Scott was in another office, and I might be confusing my names, but you basically got a list of the things that you needed to do. So I registered my business with the city. I did all those things. SCORE helped me develop a business plan, but the thing that SCORE also helped me do was to be able to pick up the phone and just ask a question, because when you're starting a business, you don't even know what you don't know.
Right.
And a lot of times you're asking questions because something comes up. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And again, those invaluable traits of people explaining things to you. What is this tax rate? Why should I pay quarterly? What is FICA? I'm sorry. You don't know, a lot of entrepreneurs don't know what FICA is until the government asks them why they're not paying it.
Right.
So, yeah. So SCORE and organizations like SCORE are imperative to the development of the business, because it's not financial capital, it's intellectual capital. It's someone asking you 2 or 3 questions and saying to you, here's the diagnosis, or pointing in the right direction.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we appreciate that little advertisement on SCORE. All right,
I'm trying. I'll just send my check to Joshua Graham.
Matter of fact, for those that would like to join your chamber, how can they get in touch with you?
You can go to our website, scbcc.org, or Southern Connecticut Black Chamber of Commerce.com. Okay, and you can fill out an online application. That's the fastest way to get set up. Once you do that, we'll reach back out to you. If you're coming in for a certification, or you have a desire to be certified as a minority business, we'll take you through that process, explain that to you, get you in our database. So that's the most efficient way. You can also reach out and contact us by phone. The number is 203. You can actually call me directly, 203-816-1537. I will get back to you. Those are the best ways to get somebody on the phone live that can speak to you and help you through the process.
Right. Also, I think you have an assistant, Diane Washington.
Diana Washington, our chairman of the board, the lifeblood. She is the person that you're going to deal with almost exclusively. She takes you through the processes, get you set up, get you stamped, get you signed, get you delivered. Diana also runs the office at the Science and Tech Innovation Center on Barnum Avenue. She's there on Tuesdays. You can actually walk in and set up an appointment there as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, and also, the our SCORE audience out there, you can get in touch with, of course, with SCORE if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to do advertising, you have questions on that, or marketing. As Joshua mentioned about a business plan, you can reach us at 203-450-9484. We're located at Housatonic Community College at the Beacon Hall at room 337. But call first. I already set that appointment. And once again, we'd like to thank you. Thank you also, Joshua, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Great
All
time.
right. Going to have you back again.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, I want to let you know that SCORE is located at Housatonic Community College.